So I am here with Belize Ambassador Katherine Vanessa Meighan. This is our first time meeting for today, and actually Ambassador Pitts, who is the former ambassador, met her several times, knew her a little bit, very lovely, and so I'm very excited when I heard that I was going to be meeting with you today. Very excited to meet you. Because as I've said before, and this goes for a lot of the Caribbean nations, the South and Central American nations that I've been able to meet here on the show and in Taiwan. The people I've met from Belize are they're always so happy. And I of course it's I know it's a mixture of all of it, but it has to be, the culture, the food, the traditions. But also, I think it's just because you guys live in such a beautiful place.
Thank you for saying that. Belize certainly is a beautiful nation with, beautiful people. And we really enjoy getting to connect with other cultures. And we certainly like to, we love life and live life. So I think it's all of that combined.
And also, I had to mention the food. And Beth, I used to do a segment many years ago when we were with many of the countries that Taiwan is friends and allies with, and we would have like food like every month it was a whole segment on like different countries and that, and I actually can't remember what I ate, but Ambassador Pitts sent over something, and I just remember that was good.
Now
I can't remember what it is, but it was good.
Our food is a representation of the mixed culture that we really are.
Yes.
So you'll find, that Caribbean flavor with perhaps some rice and beans, or you'll find a Latin accent with a tamale, which is different from Mexican tamales. So, we were talking about the fact that I like to look for the commonalities between cultures, and everywhere I've gone, I try to identify like a pocket, right? What's the food pocket? And you can call it like a patty or an empanada. They're all different and made in different ways and filled with different things, but they all are a representation of the culture. So if you're looking, we've been talking about being a foodie, right?
Yes.
For Belize, you can find a few of those. There is what we call the panades. So in our neck of the woods, you'll do that panades with masa, which is corn, right? And you can put beans inside of it. And this is salty beans, right? Made with salt and pepper. It's red kidney beans. Or you can do it with shark meat. And it's absolutely delicious. So we need to find a way to get you some of that.
I'm already interested already. Okay. I want to start out by letting our listeners get to know you a little bit. Her name's Ambassador Meighan, and at first I thought it's Meighan, Meighan, and then you told me something fascinating. This one has more of an Irish pronunciation,
right?
So it's Ambassador Katherine Vanessa Meighan.
The GH is silent.
Because the GH is silent. So if any of you see it online, okay, know that it's Meighan, all right, and not Megan, which I find already interesting. Ambassador, you've had a very impressive and diverse career. You've worked in diplomacy and business and academia, and you have been in Taiwan before.
Yes, I was.
Yes. Okay, so before we get into what you're doing now, could you tell us what brought you to Taiwan the first time?
Wow, so it's such an interesting story because it connects to an ambassador.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working at Beltrade after I finished my degree in California. And Beltrade is like the equivalent of Taitra here to some extent,
all right?
So it's trade and promotion,
mm-hmm.
and trade and investment, export, all of the above. So it's almost all inclusive. So it's Taitra and a few others,
mm-hmm.
actually. And so anyway, so I was there working, and of course, Belize has had diplomatic relationships or a diplomatic relationship with Taiwan for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
So that means we were interacting quite a bit with the Taiwan embassy there. And I got to meet Ambassador Tsai. I will always remember him. And at that point in time, I'd just come back from school. And they tell you, hey, you need to do a few years of work before you go back to get your master's.
Mm-hmm.
And I was only about a year in, and he was, you need to take advantage of this scholarship. And he was so insistent and so proud of what that scholarship was and what the offer was that I went to look it up. And I said, you know what, I'm going to take this opportunity and apply. And if I get in, then I'll see where we go from there. Got in, took the opportunity, came to Taiwan, and absolutely no regrets. Because it's amazing. I've gotten the opportunity to travel the world in various capacities, right? All on my own, but also for work. And that experience was one of the most international experiences I've ever had. What I mean when I say that is you're in a class with the percentage dynamic of people from all over the world was incredibly high, more than many of the other experiences that I've had. And then I got that opportunity to come all the way from Belize here, very different culture.
Yes.
Got a top-notch education, built friendships that I still get to connect with. I've had the opportunity to go to lunch and interact with some of my past classmates now that I'm back. So it was a tremendous opportunity and absolutely full circle that I get now to sit in this position. And so I can also empathize because we have a lot of students that have come over the years. When with my year, it was really two Belizeans came.
Okay.
Now we have 60 plus that come per annum, right? We're about 500 strong here, just for your reference. So we're a budding community here. And I can empathize with what that is like being a student, but I can definitely relate. And one of the other things that really strikes me is because I had that opportunity to come, I really established a love for Taiwan. So sitting in this capacity, and I get to be able to connect two countries that I really love. My home, Belize, and also Taiwan as well.
So you went from Belize to studying in the U.S. at Santa Clara University in California, and then when you got this opportunity to come to Taiwan, you came here and got a master's degree at National Zhengzhi University, and now you are back as the ambassador to Taiwan from Belize.
Right,
surreal. It's I think in Chinese they have a word called 缘分. 缘分is kind of like fate or destiny. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit deeper than that. It depends on how it's used, but definitely what it really means is you have some connection with Taiwan that basically, you had that chance that just popped up. You came and took it, you fell in love with Taiwan, and then you left, and now you're back as an ambassador in like an official capacity. That's pretty amazing.
I agree. It's also full circle in so many ways, right? Clearly you've taken a look at my career history, and I studied political science and economics, kind of deviated into more of the international business world. There's always been that international connection because I really believe there is just so much that connect us across the world, right? And getting the opportunity to connect and build my country through those international connections have always been, kind of like a touch point for me. I've always been passionate about that. And then now I get to come back here and support Belize and help to, see more results and see more tangible actions coming out of our relationship that's been healthy and strong for such a long time.
So you come back to Taiwan, and what are your first impressions coming back? I mean, how long were you gone?
20 years.
Oh, 20 years. Okay. So, wow. So a lot has changed since 2005.
I would say yes and no. The easiest and quickest way to sum it up, in my opinion, is Taiwan's gotten bigger and better. what I say is, when I say that, what I really mean is, like, for instance, when I was here, the MRT was brand new, and our stop was the zoo.
Oh,
so
okay.
We would stop off at the zoo and then, get a bus or get a cab or walk or whatever we did to get back to school. But so there's these landmarks that I can remember, and now I go to try to find these landmarks, and they're hard to find because they're just one part of a bigger puzzle.
Right.
So it's, so it's wonderful to see that. I also feel, I see the wider, bigger global connection, right?
Yes.
I see things here that are so different. This will certainly date me, but there's some fun parts and pretty surreal parts of being back too. When I was here so many years ago, we were using phone cards. So we get 10 minutes to call back home.
Ifuka.
Yes.
The Ifuka. Yes, and you could get one for international calls, and it was cheaper than trying to do it on a regular number.
Exactly.
I totally remember that.
Exactly. And now we have WhatsApp. We have all these very, very effective tools, easy tools that it's great to be able to connect with back home, but it's also good for business as well, right?
Absolutely. Now, speaking of business in Belize, of course, I mean, I'm sure most of our listeners have heard of Belize, of course, but a lot of people may not be really familiar. I mean, Belize is in a very unique location. It's located in Central America. It's got a rich history. It's got spectacular beauty, and but unlike a lot of other nations in Central America and South America, Belize's official language is English, not Spanish. Although I think a lot of people do speak Spanish,
right,
as well as, there's another one I'm trying to...
Maya, Garifuna
Maya.
culture has its own language as well. Creole, I think you may be referring to.
I was thinking English. Of Creole, yeah. So, I mean, you have a very unique and rich history that's affected, I mean, literally everything. Right.
So we're unique in so many ways. Firstly, we're the most northern country in Central America. We speak English. I don't think you've heard this word in a long time, but the reason for that is because we had English buccaneers come across from Jamaica and settle in Belize City, the main area of Belize City, right? And we were previously called British Honduras, right? So it was the British version of Honduras. And then in 1981, well, we changed our name to Belize several years before that. And Belize is a Mayan word for muddy waters, right? And it makes sense because where those original inhabitants would have landed and lived is along the Belize City coastline, right? Which is more low-lying. So there's a lot of mangroves and a lot of that sort of rivers, etc., that kind of all blend together. And from there, we had that colonial history for quite some time, and then we became independent in 1981. So, I kind of find it funny. I'm older than my country.
that would be a unique feeling.
It is a unique feeling. I can't remember much before 1981 because it was only a couple years old at that point. But it's, there's so many angles of Belize. Belize is really a melting pot of cultures.
Right.
I don't know if you've met many Belizeans here, but it's really hard to tell who a Belizean is by how we look. It really depends on, what you start a conversation with us, then you might get to understand, oh, okay, this person is Belizean, not necessarily Jamaican or something of that sort, right? We are really a blend of many cultures, primarily 6. If you want to narrow it down, we have the Mayan culture, which is our version of, the Aborigine, the native people. We also have Mestizo, which is a mix. Right? Mestizo means mix between Mayan and European, mainly Spaniard. Right? Then we have Creole, which is a mix, again, of Black and Caucasian. And then we have the East Indian culture. Again, like when you think about the history of the Caribbean, Belize really represents all, right?
It's the mixture, it's the fusion of all of it.
Right.
Which of course affects, as I said, so many things. Ambassador, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back, and I want to ask you a little bit about the embassy here, and what you guys are up to, and what you're planning, and also you were at the Lantern Festival recently, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Coming up right after this on ICRT. Belize Embassy is doing here in Taiwan?
Sure. So firstly, we do have counselor services,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like any other embassy, we make sure our citizens are safe if they need any support or help. Additionally, we do a lot in terms of the diplomacy angle. We do cultural exchanges.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of educational exchanges. The majority of our folks that are here are studying in some sort of way, technology, engineering, arts, business. And we also do, one of the main things that I'm here to focus on as well is trade and investment, right? And so we met a lot of Taiwanese folks that are very interested in finding ways to connect back. Perhaps they have property there already,
Mm-hmm.
or they just want to be able to go to Belize and support in some way. We're at a prime place in our economic development where manufacturing, which has been Taiwan's mainstay for such a long time, is critical for us. So we're at that stage where you have the experience and technology and investment capital in Taiwan. We have the land, we have the people, and the connections again to North America, to the Caribbean, to Central America are a perfect mix.
So they're definitely very big. What's the word I'm looking for? Very big possibility for some really great collaborations.
Amazing potential, indeed.
Yeah, potential. That's the word I was in my head. I was going qian li. Oh, how do I say that in English again? Yeah, potential. Great potential. Thank you. Now, I heard you were also at the Taiwan Lantern Festival recently, and while I was down this last weekend, when I found out that I was going to be talking to you, I did go and check out the Belize Lantern.
Yes, I hope you liked it.
It's beautiful.
It was, so we have these things are the fun stuff that we get to do,
part of the
frank,
fun part of the job.
They're amazing. So when you think about Belize, well, I wanted to kind of do a connection to to the Taiwan and Belize friendship, and also a connection to myself. So we chose to display the Belize City Harbor. I'm from Belize City. That ends my connection there. And then from there, it really, that is a place that brings the old and the new of Belize, just like Taiwan. You're gonna see a high-rise building and a temple right next to it, right? And so we have a little bit of that sort of experience. So what we featured there was a lantern that dates back to prior to Belize's independence. And you see that, I can see you pulling it up. We have a sailboat. The sailboat is a representation of trade and a connection to Taiwan, because that's where all of the fishermen are bringing in a day's catch, and they're bringing lobster. We sell lobster to Taiwan, right? And shrimp sometime later on this year as well. And then, of course, we have that Belize sign that connects us to, the tourism angle and the cultural aspect of where we are. So there are shades of blue and shades of bright colors that really represent our very vibrant culture.
I was going to mention, I love the sail on the boat. It's so colorful, and it makes it all bright. And that's another thing that I noticed with the Latin American and Caribbean communities, and all the amount of fusion. It's so colorful.
Yes.
And I think that really represents the people. This bright colors and so many shades.
Right.
And I mean that literally as well as symbolically.
Right, and they blend well.
Yeah.
Right, and that's also the cultural component too.
So we are running out of time, and so I want to ask you, do you want to add anything that the embassy is doing before I ask you the last question?
Absolutely. So we have a full lineup of engagements that's going to continue. Last week we had a delegation of 10 for Finance Belize. We met with about 35 different Taiwanese business representatives that want to do business in Belize and want to learn about the process. So that was a wonderful, very successful engagement. This week we have a smart city which we're excited to have representatives for as well. And then the International Cities Forum, and our Belmopan mayor is coming for that.
Oh.
We actually have a sister city relationship between Belmopan and Taipei City.
Oh, nice.
So it's kind of, fulfilling and developing that relationship even further. He was here last year, wanted to come back again this year for the opportunity to continue to engage. And there's a lot that we're going to be doing with e-mobility, smart technology. There's so much, so much potential. So we're looking forward to a great next week of engagements.
It sounds like you're at a very busy time of year.
Yeah. The entire year has been
really
busy. But I love that. Well, since I've been here, right? I'm here now 7 months, going on 8 months, and we've had our general, our governor general here. We've had ministers here, 3 of them, in fact. We actually in April have a delegation where we have the president of the University of Belize that's coming, along with education. So it's really been busy, but it's good to be busy. That means things are happening.
Means things are happening. That's great. Okay, and the last questions, and these are easy ones. So, and these go together. We were talking about being a foodie, and living in Taiwan before, and now coming back in August of last year, you realize Taiwanese people love food, right? I mean, This is also something in common with Belize.
I love food too.
you ask Taiwanese people, or you tell Taiwanese people you went somewhere. They didn't ask what you saw. They say, "What did you eat?" Exactly. So I'll ask you 2 things. One, is there any food from Belize that you miss that you would like to see here? And then I'll ask which Taiwanese food you love. So Belize first.
So I'll connect that back with red kidney beans, because we make red kidney beans in such a different way.
Yeah.
And that's something that I had to get used to here, but I've come to enjoy. So food that I miss is rice and beans, which is made with red kidney beans, rice cooked together, coconut milk, salt and pepper, right? So it's a nice blend. And then now I get to enjoy red kidney, but sweet red kidney as a dessert.
I'll tell you what, I'll hook you up with some dried red kidney beans.
Okay.
If you can make it, I can get you dried beans.
Sure.
I've got my connections. I'm a foodie. You can make food just like home, and you can enjoy both sides of it.
That sounds fantastic. Thank you.
And what is one of your favorite Taiwanese foods that you've tried?
Oh my gosh. So I'm a dumpling fan of all sorts.
Oh, me too.
Fried dumplings, steamed dumplings, boiled dumplings. I really enjoy that. And it's such a comfort food as well. So.
And dumplings, I mean, really, every culture has their version of a dumpling, right?
Right. The same thing with the pocket, right? Full circle. We're coming right back around to how we started.
Right? Empanadas or pizza pockets? No, actually, I don't want to compare those two. Empanadas are so much better. Unless the pizza pocket is homemade.
It doesn't matter, right? We all have some form of a pocket that's easy to eat and very delicious.
So, let's see, a Taiwanese pocket. I guess any of the stuffed rolls.
Correct.
Any of the stuffed baozi. That would
or the steamed dumpling, the steamed buns
Yeah,
as
the
well,
steamed buns.
right?
That's what bao. They call them bao. Yeah, steamed buns. Any of those. And have you tried...
Even the scallion pancakes to some extent as well.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of them here.
Do you know that way back when I was too lazy to make tortillas, and I wanted a flat something to make a wrap. I would go and buy the frozen green onion scallion pancakes, let them thaw, and then roll them super, super thin, and make tortillas with those.
Oh, really? Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, something to think about.
All right, so thank you so much for being with us today. Today we've been speaking with Belize Ambassador Katherine Vanessa Meighan. And there was one other thing, and we've only got about 30 seconds. You told me the lantern from the Lantern Festival is going to be moved to Taipei and put outside.
Yes, so it's going to be in the park. It's a Belize park that's right next to the diplomatic quarter in Tianmu. So this week by next week it will be up. And so I encourage people to pass by, walk by. It's a beautiful park. It's going to be nicely lit up. And people in Taipei. If you didn't make it to Chiayi, you get to see our lantern in Taipei as well.
Yeah, it's a beautiful lantern. You got to check it out. All right, we are going to top off the hour with some Calypso Rose Santana, and I said the Garifuna Collective earlier, and I found out I said it incorrectly. It is Garifuna Collective, and this is Watina. Taking us up to 11. Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you as well.